knows best.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to Brenna Knows Best. I'm your host, Brenna Berg. Hi, how are you guys? Happy Friday. I'm going to be so fucking for real with you guys right now. I am low-key having the worst day of my life, and I don't mean to be dramatic, and I hate to be a bitch who complains, but let's back it up to 2.5 weeks ago when I got my first UTI. If you've never had a UTI, here's the thing. It started with frequent urination, and then I noticed a smell, and then one morning it was painful. It was like I felt like I constantly had to pee, and when I would pee it kind of hurt, and it really hurt my tummy, and it was all of the symptoms of a UTI and nothing more. And I got put on just the general antibiotic. It went away after a few days, but then at the end and into last week, up until this week, I've been peeing a lot. And here's the thing, I don't want to be the boy who cried wolf, because I've been drinking a lot of water. When you have infections, you want to stay hydrated. But I also am always a hydrated bitch, and I still feel like I'm peeing more than normal. Even though I don't have that constant feeling, I have none of the other signs as of right now. Something just has not felt right. So this Tuesday, just a few days ago, I go in to the doctor to get a urine culture. I'm like, let's figure out what the bacteria is. Basically, a urine culture test to see what the bacteria is that's causing the UTI, or if you have a bacteria that's causing the UTI. And I spoke to my friend Brenda, the doctor, and she was like, that's weird that the antibiotic didn't knock it out. That's the pretty basic one for your first UTI. You had those symptoms. That's a little bit odd. However, and the day that I went in, I'm not feeling super uncomfortable. I just feel like I'm peeing a lot. And I actually went to Target first, and I got this vagina pH test, and then it also had the UTI test. So the pH one was a little bit higher than normal, but not the scale went to 8. It's 4.5 is good, and then 5 and beyond is it's 5 to 8 is pretty high, and mine was between 4.5 and 5. Okay. Now the other test, I was negative for nitrates, but positive for white blood cells, which essentially means that it's so. If you have nitrates, I believe if you're positive for that, it's for sure UTI. And again, I don't have these other symptoms, but I'm why do I still have symptoms at all? Why am I peeing so much? And I got really freaked out, as one does. You fucking get on Google, and I'm still doing it today, you guys, and I'm losing my mind, and I have to stop. I actually have to stop because it's ruining everything. But I go in, I do the urine culture. I tell my friend Brenda what's going on. And she's like, okay, we're going to do this urine culture. When you get it back, if it's positive, we'll call you, and then we'll prescribe the antibiotic that will attack that certain bacteria. And that's why they do it, because UTIs can be caused by different bacteria. So then you need to know which one so the antibiotic can attack it. You know what I'm saying? She also then said, if it's negative, that means you have no infection currently, but it's also why do you have the symptoms? So you should probably go to your doctor. Well, last night at 9 p.m., I get my lab results, not from the doctor itself, but LabCorp sent them to me. So I'm also trying to interpret this data, but basically what it said is everything was normal. It was negative. I think it didn't flat out say that. And I'm why don't you use the language that the doctor told me, or vice versa? Because that shit's so confusing. But basically me and Carter were looking at it, and it was negative. So then I'm really fucking spiraling. I'm oh my God, something else is wrong with me. Something else is very wrong. So me and Carter are Googling. This is literally 9 p.m. last night. I'm oh, let's go to bed. I said, I can't. I tried to read my fucking book and I couldn't read. I wake up at 1:30 to pee, which again is abnormal. I never pee in the middle of the night. See, but also I've been drinking a lot of water. I don't know. It's upsetting, and I can't think about it because I've been literally spiraling. Well, that leads me to what I was talking about. I get up at 1:30 and then I'm sitting in the bed and I'm fucking doomsdaying. And I don't have my phone in our room when we sleep, but I'm sitting there. And after probably 30 minutes or an hour, I get up and I go outside and I grab my laptop. It's 2 a.m. I'm fucking Googling everything. I'm Googling my insurance, because that's the other thing. My insurance is not that good, and I pay a pretty high copay. And I'm like, if I'm being dramatic, I'm like forking out all this fucking money. But if I'm not, like, it's my health and it's serious. Like, I'm trying to get on this line of like not going to the dramatics. Like, I have cancer, you know, you Google anything and it's like, you have cancer. Or, you know, err on the side of caution and be like, okay, just like keep hydrating, wait, you know, a little bit of time. And it's really been bothering me. But anyways, I was up, you guys, until 4 a.m., 5 a.m. So from 1 to like 4 or 5 a.m., I crash the fuck out. So I fall asleep at like 5. I wake up at 7. We get Carter going. He heads to work. I actually already filmed this one time and it was so bad. I had to pause so many times because number one, I took my antibiotic and I don't think I ate fast enough. So then I felt weird. And that's the other thing. When something's like not right with your health, everything is like, oh, like I feel something in my side and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. Or like my head's a little bit, I'm like, oh my God, do I have a fever? But then I never touch my forehead. So like, is it a normal temperature that my forehead is at? You just kind of go into like this crazy place, which I wanted to talk about all of the stupid shit we see on social media and all of the things we worry about in fashion and Botox and makeup and it's hobbies and it's life. And like, I am so fucking hypocritical. I think everybody's actually a hypocrite. Like, you know, we won't even get into that conversation. But this is why I'm so big into health and wellness. And honestly, I should share more because when something is wrong with your health, there is nothing else you can focus on. Like you have nothing if you don't have your health. And this will be why I always recommend, I don't think that was a complete sentence, 10,000 steps a day, just walking, moving, eating right, eating healthy, because even the healthiest people on this earth can get cancer, can get sick. Like the least you can do, because truly when you have something wrong, Carter, you guys, last Friday, let's jump into his thing because I'm gonna fucking spiral for the 100th time in the last 12 hours. He was doing a front squat last Friday morning at the gym. I'm on the treadmill, I'm reading. He walks on over and he's like, babe, I fucked up. Like, I don't know if he stopped paying attention, he wasn't engaging his core. He really just needs to stop lifting heavy weights and doing like front squats are very different than back squats, but basically he was on the come up and he feels like he slipped a disc. And we still have not gone to an orthopedist, but we really should set that up. We actually ended up going to the chiropractor on Saturday. And when I was thinking about this episode, actually, when I recorded it this morning and had to fucking redo it, I wanted to talk about chiropractors. And the bad part about being on social media and sharing my opinions is I'm a bitch who will share her opinions. Also, I can be wrong. And number two, they're my opinions. Like my opinions are always changing, but one of them that has stood the test of time still is that chiropractors, it kind of is pseudoscience. Like, I don't really believe in it. Okay, I should not say pseudoscience because I don't even really know what that means. But like chiropractic stuff is a little bit fishy to me. Like, I have a hard time believing that when me and Carter went into that chiropractor office and she just like looked at him like, unless you're getting an MRI for like deep whatever the thing is, like how are they able to know what's wrong? They might have an educated guess and then just fucking crack your back and then you're healed. No. And then they always have you coming back. Like the people who love going to the chiropractor, they're going once a week, they're going twice a week, and they tell you to keep coming back. It's like one of those things that's just a fucking money cow. And also, why don't they take insurance? I'm sure some places do, but like the one we went to, Carter's like, no, you just pay like $100. I'm like, oh my gosh. So basically we forked over $100 for no good reason. We walked out and Carter's like, did I just get scammed? And I'm like, 100% I think so. We were actually in such a silly, goofy mood that day. This isn't going to be that funny now telling you back because nothing is funny telling it back. But we went to Shug's Bagels before, which is just a bagel store here. We get the Shug bagel. I think what it is bacon, egg, cheese, bacon scallion just oozing out on an everything bagel, I believe. Carter has ordered for me every time and I just always get what he gets. Oh, and a hash brown. Oh, it's delicious. We haven't had one in so long. So there's a new location on Lemon and it has a drive-through. So if you order ahead, I don't think you can just go up and order. I think you have to order ahead, but then you can go in that line and tell them and then they'll give you your bagel. So we go there. I'm driving. I don't know if I've spoken about this, but Carter is the passenger princess. I am no longer the passenger princess. I was in like the first few months of dating, but once we established that his car is also my car, I'm the fucking driver. And it's so funny. Actually, we had 2 double dates last weekend, which we'll get into. But one of them, the girl we don't really know because she's recently dating Carter's best friend. We dropped them off at a bar on our way home after dinner. And she was like, oh my gosh, I would never suspect that like you're the driver and he's the passenger princess. I said, I know, but he is. And of course, Carter's like, oh, and Carter will drive if like we're going to one of his work events or something where it's like a little bit high society-esque, he'll drive. That way, if anybody spots him, I'm not the one driving. But other than that, I drive and I love to drive. If you guys remember, wait, I don't know if we ever spoke about this on our road trip, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before. And the reason I don't think I've maybe spoken about this is because I didn't have the podcast then. We drove from here to Breckenridge, to Park City, to the Grand Canyon, to Phoenix to San Diego. It was like 2,500 miles this trip. Guess how many Carter drove? Guess. 300. I drove 2,200 and out of my own free will. I love to drive. It was like every time we were going, he would offer, he's like, do you want me to drive? And I'm like, babe, I really don't mind. So like, if you don't want to, like, I feel like I actually enjoy driving. And I think it's the Barrett Berg in me. You guys know my dad's a race car driver, but also he's never really flown. I think he's flown on like 3 planes in his life. We literally, as kids, like we drove to Buffalo, New York once. That was like a 25-hour trip. We drove. Me and my dad switched on and off. And probably when I was that age, I didn't like driving as much because I had to do it. But it did set me up for success because I enjoy driving. One time, which this will come back around to later in the episode, I flew into Chicago with a bunch of my friends. We all were meeting from different places for our friend's wedding in Iowa. And I drove that drive, which now that I'm thinking about that, it wasn't too far, like maybe 4 hours. I actually have no idea. I can't remember if it was like 3 hours or 6 hours. I drove all my friends. Here's in the passenger seat. There's 3 or 4 in the back. I just enjoy it. Like I don't mind at all. So anyways, Carter is the passenger princess. And so we get the bagels and we're going straight from bagels. It was like ready at 9:40. Maybe 10:40. And his chiropractor appointment was at 11. And oh, let me back it up. Friday morning, we get back and Carter literally like, it's not so bad, but like he really can't move. So maybe it is bad. I lied. Okay, it's like pretty bad. I had to put his shoes on. And so I put them over his foot and then I'm holding the little tab. He recently bought these like little Steve Madden shoes at Nordstrom Rack. Well, they're not little. He's a size 12, but they're like, we also went shopping after the chiropractor appointment and he was looking for some black ones. You know how guys like dress shoes, there's like dress shoes that are like literal fucking cardboard and they're like so stiff and so like and then there's like tennis shoes. But now I feel like, and maybe this has been the way for a really long time, but I'm just so new to like men's workwear. Nobody in my family is like a corporate professional being. But Carter has wanted those like in between where it's like almost a sneaker, but it has the nice bottom. And when he went to the Waste Management Open, we went to Nordstrom Rack and got him these like tan with brown Steve Madden, but like they're overall like a beige, almost white color. He decided to wear those because it was Friday and I had to put his shoes on. So because they're like a tennis shoe, they had the little loop in the back. And so I'm holding that and Carter's like pressing his foot and I'm like trying to hold on. Literally thought my finger was going to pop off. I said, babes, I'm not sure if we should be doing this, but he like could not bend over. Oh my gosh, that was a hot mess. I said, good luck. He took one of our pillows from our couch, to work and he put it there like on his low back because he was like really in pain. And that's why he came home Friday night. We did some stretches, and he also, does not believe in chiropractors. Like, I'm loosely like not a believer. He's like an avid non-believer, but it was Friday night and he was like in so much pain, and you're so desperate. So he just wanted to like figure out what was going on. Also, his dad's a literal doctor, which chiropractors are doctors as well in their own field, but his dad's a podiatrist. So like, we almost called him, and then he's like, he's going to tell me not to go. And I just kind of want to like get some sort of clarity potentially. And that is how we ended at the chiropractor. But we get there. Oh, let me back it up. Holy fuck. I will say that even though we're jumping around right now, this first episode that I recorded this morning, you guys, it would have been painful. I literally had like a 5-minute apology at the end. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And then I plugged it into my computer to edit, and like the audio was so wrong. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. What do you call that? Your 13th reason? I don't know why people say that, but that was literally my 13th reason. Okay, back to the story. I go through the drive-thru at Shugs and I say, hi, order 2541, and they give us our bagels. And Carter, well, number one, he's like a fucking beast. He just immediately starts scarfing down, but like the scallion and the cheese, it just wasn't something that I could like eat and drive, and we had to get on the tollway to go where we were going, so I couldn't eat. I'm just sitting here, Carter's just, I'm starving. Oh my gosh, I just kind of sounded like May, but I'm starving. I'm like, I'm so happy that you get to eat while I'm fucking driving. I just told you that I don't mind driving. In this particular instance, when I'm hungry, I was like, okay, asshole. We get there. We park. We're 10 minutes early. He's like, babe, you can eat. He's already done. Okay, it was like a 10-minute drive. I eat fast. Carter eats way faster. But I'm enjoying half of my bagel. And like the whole bagel is always kind of like, it sends me over the edge. And we're going to go into this chiropractor appointment. Not like I give a shit if I'm stuffed, but like, that uncomfortable stuff feeling. I don't want to feel like that. Well, I'm eating half. We have like 5 minutes, and Carter has the craziest look on his face, and I knew exactly what was going to come out of his mouth before it came out of his mouth. He knew in that moment that I wasn't going to finish that half right this second, so he thought that he was going to ask me if he could have it, and he kind of looks at me and he's like, you're going to finish? Are you not going to finish that? And I said, not right now, but I will later. And he got so mad. He's like, oh my gosh, because I think I like mocked him during, like, I was like, I know what's going to come out of your mouth. The way his eyes were like ravenous, because he ate so quickly on the way there. So then while I'm eating, he's just sitting watching me eat as we're parked. And like, he was semi-full, because again, they're like a full bagel with like a hash brown and an egg and whatever, but like he can always eat more. And he's like, oh, I'm so pissed. And this always happens also with our drinks. When we enjoy a tasty drink, he actually came home with one yesterday. He'll get a Dr. Pepper. I'll get a Coke Zero or a Cherry Coke Zero because he goes to the gas station by us. And he drinks. Now, I eat fast. I drinks decently slow. Okay, I'm not one to like, because I think I also hate cold drinks, and they're always like straight out of the refrigerator, so I can't. And I also like do want to savor it. I can't savor food, but I can savor my drinks. Like, I still have a half in the fridge. Well, Carter just one gulp, literally one gulp. Okay, not actually, but it feels that way at times. Like, it's gone within 2 minutes, and then he'll be pissed the rest of the night. Like, we typically only do like a sweet drink on weekends, like a Friday or a Saturday, and it'll be like hours later and I'm still drinking, and he's like, oh, I'm pissed you still have that. When we each had one drink to begin with, he just drank it too fast. So that's what was happening with the bagel. He's like sitting there watching me eat. He just scarfed his down. He's like, God damn it. And then, you guys, as I'm closing it up and he's like mad he doesn't get to eat it, he's not actually mad. He's actually never been mad in his life around me. He's like, you're going to leave that in the car? It's going to go bad. And another thing that you guys would know about me, and you would think that Carter would know about me by now, my family growing up, okay, if something's got an expiration date on it, that doesn't mean shit. You open up that milk, you sniff. If it doesn't smell weird, you drink it. Okay. Carter, on the other hand, it's about to expire. It's like 2 days before. He's like, oh, and I'm like, what are we talking about? What are you actually talking about? You're from one family or the other. And we just like never wasted food. I'm sure I've eaten so much just like, well, I ate just shit food growing up, but like even expired, yeah, we didn't follow expiration dates. If it was past, if it seemed fine, we're eating it. So this is like so Carter. He's like, you can't just leave that in the car. Like, it's egg and cheese. It's gonna go bad. I'm like, babe, we're gonna be in there for like an hour. It's gonna be okay. And even if that's not like, if you're out there and you're siding with Carter, who cares? I don't know. Like, I've never gotten sick from something like that. And guess what? I still didn't. Okay, so I leave it in there. So not only was he like upset the first time, then we get out of the chiropractor appointment and I have half a bagel left. And he said, God damn. But anyways, also, so we were like in a silly, goofy mood. We get out of the car to go into the chiropractor office. And I wasn't sure if I had scallion on my face because like it kind of oozes, you know? And so I'm like, can you tell me if I have any? And then I kind of gave him like a soft smile, like my lips were closed and I smiled at him because I just wanted him to look on my cheeks. And he thought that I wanted him to check my teeth, but I didn't have my teeth showing. And he's like, babe, what do you mean I can't see your teeth? I'm sorry. I was like literally crying, laughing. We were being so goofy. I'm not sure what it was because he was in so much pain. Like you guys, you know, if you've ever been around somebody with back pain, like they're so stiff and then he's like sitting and he's like, you know, which this is so sad. But I had a friend growing up in elementary school. I remember the first grade because I would go to the bathroom with her. She had scoliosis and kids used to make fun of her because literally her back, like she had a rod in it, so it was so upright, but it seemed so like proper and just like, oh, like it's kind of like that. I'm like, okay, babe, like we get it, your posture's better than us. Okay, we go into the appointment. You guys, the girl that we got, God bless her, she was amazing. She was so fun and cute and fun and fresh. However, she was like maybe 5'5", which is an average woman height. She had a fucking badonkadonk. And I mean that so respectfully. I asked Carter afterwards, I'm like, did you see her butt? And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh my God. It was insane. She was little, but she was like, definitely looked like she like lifts weights. Like she was, you know, I don't know. But she was 5'5". Carter is 6'2", like 220 pounds, I think. So she's like adjusting him. She's trying. She's on top of him. And she would like literally jump and like body slam. And I'm sitting there watching it, like trying not to die. And afterwards, I'm like, damn, she's like manhandle you more than I have. God damn, I gotta get back into it. I gotta rough you up like that. And he was cracking up. And so she did all of this stuff, kind of explained what she thinks it was. Then they did like this sonogram situation. They like put a gel on his back and like it did like sonic waves or something. It's supposed to like bring blood to the surface. Again, like, is it legitimate? I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no fucking clue. But they did that. We paid $125. They gave us a lacrosse ball and some like numbing cream and we went on our way. And the second we walked out, Carter was like, did I just get scammed? And I said, 1000%. But it was whatever. It was an experience. I'm all about the experiences, you know? So we then go to the mall because Carter, for one, wanted to look at black shoes, which we couldn't really nail down the perfect, like that look is specific. Like there are tennis shoes and there are dress shoes. So to find that in between, like they either go one way or the other. Like some of them were too tennis shoey. He can't wear that to work. And then the others were like dress shoes. He has black dress shoes, obviously. So we're still finding the perfect little tenny. We then go to Travis Matthews, which is like a golf store, but Carter wanted to look at pants. And then we went to Neiman Marcus. And if you don't know what Neiman Marcus is, I am so not this bitch, but so this bitch at the same time. I love like luxury. Honestly, the nanny fam killed me. And I want to tell you a story. Nanny fam has, or nanny mom, sorry, has an attendant or like a salesperson at Neiman Marcus. Oh, I didn't even explain for those who don't know what Neiman Marcus is. It's like Nordstrom, but higher. more elevated, more luxe. Like they have some more moderate, like, nothing cheap by any means. We're talking like $100 items. I'm trying to think of their like lower end items or like brands. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But then they also have like the luxe of the luxe, like the expensive fucking bullshit. Well, I used to go there a lot, returns for Nanny Mom and just with her shopping. And she was the one I think who introduced me to Neiman Marcus, because why the fuck would I have gone in there? And they also have like separate individual, like they have a little Prada in there and they have a little Louis Vuitton and a little Stella McCarthy where they have like the purses and little whatever. It's a 3-story building. And I didn't know this until we were planning the bar mitzvah, and she obviously was the mother of Nanny Boy, and you got to show up and show out. Well, people just fucking go balls to the walls no matter who you are, but as the mother and as the party thrower of this fucking insane party at Globe Life Field, she had to show up and show out. It's been months. We spent months trying to find a dress, and then we found an Alexander McQueen dress, or she did. Who the fuck am I? She was shopping everywhere. She went to Paris, she went to London, she was like fucking shopping until she dropped, and it came down to the wire. She found this dress, amazing. Well, we would go to Neiman's pretty often, and I would go with her because we were doing alterations, and then I was working with her sales associate because I always had to bring it and do it and blah, 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 blah. Well, one time, the very first time I met her there, she told me to meet her in the dress area, and the second floor is like the women's floor. Okay, so I go over to the dress area because I know where that is, because I'd been there a million times, like for her, returning, whatever. I'm standing there, I'm looking around, nobody in sight. I said, bitch, where are you? She said, on the 3rd floor. I said, I had no idea there was a 3rd floor. And the reason I didn't know there was a 3rd floor is because the 3rd floor is the fucking cream of the crop. Like the most expensive, the most high end, the most luxury. They also have like kids clothes, I think some home stuff. But then on the other side is like insane. I'm like, oh. And then that's where we would always meet. So I would come in. I'm like, hi, Kelly, her sales associate. I'm sitting there just like watching her. I never was shopping there, but I would be there with her as she was getting altered. And it actually became a big fat mess. They fucked up one of her very last alterations like days before the bar mitzvah. And Nanny Mom is like cool until she's not. And she like lost it. I remember Nanny Dad called me, and we were in the midst of it. And he's like, hey, I don't know if he was asking about lunch or he was just getting back from a business trip. And I'm like, oh, I can't ask her. Like he wanted me to ask her something. And I was like, I cannot ask that right now. And he's like, what's going on? Is she like fucking popping off? And I'm like, yes. He said, okay, just like, let me know later. Good luck. Goodbye. I'm like, okay. Not to me, obviously. Well, it's so funny because there were only a few instances where she'd be like kind of, losing her cool about something. And she's like, am I wrong? And I would understand, like, she was not wrong per se. Like, they fucked up her alterations 1000%. But like, I would never act in that way. And we're talking about like a $3,000, maybe more, $4,000 dress. And I get it. It was like days before. Totally understand being stressed and whatever, but like I also felt bad for the people on the other end of it, and so I'm like, don't put me in this fucking position. But anyways, okay, that's my Neiman Marcus story. I totally forgot about that. We go down into the men's section at Neiman's, which I've never been in because Carter wanted to look at the Peter Millar stuff, which was like a super nice men's clothing wear. And we had the cutest little sales attendant. I took his little card. He got us a long sleeve. Well, obviously we bought it. Long sleeve light blue Peter Millar jacket, or not jacket, button up for Cutie Carter, and he looked so good in it. I love shopping with him. He drops a fucking bag, and when other people drop money when you're with them, it's almost like you're doing it. Like that's how it was with Nanny Mom, or when I'd have to pick up stuff for her. I'm like, oh, it's like I'm shopping, but it's not my money. Even though Carter's money is now my money, I'm still like, woo, it's so fun that you're spending the money. Maybe I'm the only one. Wait, I skipped out on Friday night. As you guys know, I posted on my Instagram story and Carter was like, hi babe, so-and-so want to go out on Friday and so-and-so want to go out on Saturday. Is that okay? Which we love a king who asks if I'm good with the plans instead of just making plans. And that's something I think like until it happens or like going into an event, I think I've talked about this before, making sure that you guys are on the same page about when you're leaving, if you have a code word. It's so silly and seems like, why is that something that you would even talk about with your partner? But like as you get into like a serious real relationship and you start going to events and just like you forget about these small things. Like when you're single, you can come as you want, go as you want. But if you're stuck in a situation with your partner at an event, you want to go, he doesn't, you guys didn't have a clear path going into something, I feel like that's something you should get on the same page about. But also, if you are with somebody or you make plans for you and your partner, I would start like asking. It's something that I didn't even realize. Like if Carter would have been like, oh, we're going here and there on Friday and here and there on Saturday, I would have been like, okay. But the fact that he asked is just like, oh. And then at the end of the text, he also said, I know that's a lot of socializing for us. So Friday night, we went to Javier's. If you are a Dallas person, you will probably have heard of Javier's. And to everybody not in Dallas, Javier's is fucking one of the Dallas spots that's like deemed high society for whatever reason. Like there are all of these restaurants in Dallas that like, you know, the people go to of Highland Park, like the rich people for whatever reason. So I've never been to Javier's, obviously. That's just not like something. The food was good, but was it... I don't know. Again, I'm not a foodie, but we went with the couple that Carter works with, the associate, and I think this guy will become one of his really good friends. And then his girlfriend, who is such a sweet little angel. I love her. And it was my first time really spending time with them. I met them at the Christmas party, and then we went to that basketball game, like I told you a few weeks back, but I was on the far end and she works for American Airlines. And that was the day that that accident happened in DC. And she was really busy on her phone, which is so funny because she apologized at dinner. She was like, I'm never the person on my phone. Like I try and be so respectful and I hate when people are on their phone, but that was just like a nightmare. And my phone was blowing up and Teams and this and that. And I'm like, number one, it was me, Carter, her boyfriend, and then her on the other side. So we were the farthest away we could possibly be. And number two, I get it. Work is work. That was insane. I'm sure everything was blowing up, but she apologized, which was so cute. She's great. And then after we ate, okay, another thing about Javier's is they have a cigar room where literally people smoke cigars. We are walking. So we finished eating and then we walk through and you go and you can like feel the smoke hit you. And I'm like, oh, nasty. But the good thing is that the room was full. Which again, it's all these like pretentious motherfuckers. I just hate that. Like, I hate when rich people like think they're so cool. I just really hate that. But anyways, we go outside. There's like 2 outdoor tents and we go sit in one and then the boys go get cigars, which is funny because me and Carter had a conversation about peer pressure because he's definitely doesn't want to be doing it. But like, I get it. It's similar to a first date, like how Carter and I drank on our second date. Yeah, that was the only date we drank on. You kind of like do these things to do them. He's like, I'm not going to leave my boy hanging to do his own cigar. And I get it. But I'm also like, who gives a fuck? However, okay, we sit out there and we're there until midnight. Oh my gosh. And let me give you guys some juicy, tiny little tea. That's quite literally nothing at all. But because this is the girls' room, I can freely express myself. I go to the bathroom. I'm walking out. Okay. And I didn't say this to Carter because it's so unnecessary, but I'm walking back and I passed this guy and I looked at him when he first was coming towards me and then I looked away and then it's like registering that this guy lived with my ex-boyfriend. So my ex-boyfriend owned the house and then this guy moved in towards the end of our relationship, or maybe he was there for longer than I think. He lived in a room upstairs as well. So like, I knew him decently well, like from seeing him, but like not really. And his girlfriend kind of, but we were never like close by any means. but we're passing each other and I'm like, oh fuck, but I keep walking. And then as I'm like going down these little stairs, I hear Brenna, and I turn around and I'm like, oh, and he's a nice guy and there's nothing wrong, but it's like, I don't give a shit what my ex-boyfriend is up to, so I'm not going to ask about that. But our only common bond is that person, so nobody brought it up. He was just like, hey, I gave him a hug. I'm like, how are you? And he's like, oh, my girlfriend, they're still together apparently, she's over there. And like, me and the girl definitely didn't really talk that much. Like, I barely know her. She was really quiet. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go say hi. Absolutely not. And it was a little bit awkward. And then one of his friends came out and he was like, hey, Jessica, meet Brenna. And I'm like, oh, hi. And like, what do you talk about? I don't really know you. You lived with my ex-boyfriend. And then I went back to the table and I was like, oh my gosh, of course, because that's so the spot that those people would go. Like, that's like the crowd that my ex-boyfriend would hang out with. And I'm like, why all these pretentious like late 20-year-olds that like live to go to Javier's and smoke a cigar? I'm sorry, and I hate to judge people's hobbies, but like, you guys know that's not me. That is not me at all. However, that was that. Saturday rolls around. I already explained that. Saturday night, we meet the other couple down in Bishop Arts, which is like this cute little artsy boutique-y place. And we go to a Greek restaurant or Mediterranean. Now I'm not so sure. But I will say, Carter and I had a nice long chat about, I appreciate Mediterranean and like Greek food for what it is. And like, I think it's fine. And similar to kava, which I'm not sure what kind of food kava is. And Carter actually really likes kava. It's fine, but it doesn't do anything for me. And like, this restaurant we went to on Saturday, the stuff was good. I can appreciate it for what it is, but I will never like crave that kind of food. I will never seek that kind of food out, which makes me feel bad because Nanny Mom, obviously being from Israel, she makes like a lot of like authentic hummus and like tons of other crazier dishes that are like, I would say Mediterranean, like that style of food. And it's always good. It is always good, but it's always like not something that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever had. You know what I mean? I could live without eating it ever again. But like, if somebody wants to go there, I'll go. I don't dislike it. Does that make sense? Does anybody else feel that way about a certain food group? I think that's it for me. We finished up eating. We did get this pistachio cheesecake. Oh, it like melted in my mouth. I said, delicious. And then we drove them to a bar in Bishop Arts because they were going out, and we said, fuck no. And then we went home, and Sunday we did our little stretchies. Oh, Love is Blind. I actually have no notes on Love is Blind because I did not watch a single part of last week's episodes. Today is the drop of the weddings, I believe. Oh, I am so sorry. I watched a spoiler on TikTok to see who gets married because I said, I don't want to watch this. I'm not even going to watch the last episodes. I know who gets married. I know who doesn't. I will watch the reunion, but everybody else fucking lost me. It is so boring, and I'm trying to decide why. And I think they failed us in the beginning. The pods were so long. And the frustrating part is I was really attached to Mason, Meg, Molly, Dave, Alex, Madison, and those people were not even on the episodes. Like, the couples that ended up together were like meh to me. Dave and Lauren was like the most whatever, but the ones that didn't end up leaving the show were the ones that did end up leaving and not like coupling up were the ones I would have watched. And also, those pod episodes are just way too long. That's where I'm at with Love is Blind. Did we watch anything else? I don't think so, but we did watch Arbitrage last night. Do not recommend. That was like honestly shitty acting, and I'm no one to speak about acting. Like, I know a fucking thing or two, but it was so cheesy. I am reading, however, ACOTAR. I finally bought the ACOTAR set. I'm only a few chapters in because I've just been like really tired at the end of the night. I think this whole like health situation is fucking knocking me out. Last night I could not concentrate because it was all I was thinking about. I didn't even read. And this is why I'm not reading as much. Carter hasn't been going to the gym in the morning, which means I haven't been going to the gym in the morning because that's when I read and walk. And I've had a lot of like random work things happening this week, and I've been trying to go outside even though it's kind of cold in Dallas again. And I'm like, And that's also why I think my health is not good. When my routine and like life isn't in order, I'm fucking chaos. I need to go on my outdoor walks. I need to get back in my routine. And maybe I just like caught on to something, but I'm reading ACOTAR. If you have read it, I just got to the part where like she's on the horse with the monster and they just took her through the wall to fairyland or whatever the fuck is going on over there. That's as far as I've made it. I'm really excited. I called my friend Natalie because she's the one, as I mentioned a million times, that borrowed me Fourth Wing, but she hasn't read ACOTAR either. But she has a group of college friends that like she chit chats with about Fourth Wing, and then they always bring up ACOTAR because they've all read it, and she's always feeling left out. So I'm like, bitch, you borrowed me those books. You can have these when I'm done. And she's excited. So she's gonna read them after me. And what else happened this week? Cottage cheese. Oh my gosh, you guys, my Instagram stories, I literally have never had an Instagram story get so many replies than the one of me asking about cottage cheese. And this is what the fuck I'm saying. Why is there so much cottage cheese lore? Can somebody explain that to me? I see all of the fitness and wellness girlies, which I explained on the story, because you know, like rice cakes, it's like they recommend, or you see it all the time. I remember when all the fitness influencers are like rice cakes, and then you try it and you're like, what the fuck is this? But it's just like a low calorie, whatever. That's how I feel about cottage cheese. Like the fitness bitches are always like mixing it in with the cheese or doing weird stuff. And I'm like, what is that? And it's something that has never piqued my interest enough to like add it to my routine. I said on the story, I've been buying my own groceries for like at least 10 years now, and it's not something that has ever been flagged to me as something to try. And then recently I've been seeing it everywhere, and clearly I can't still understand what it tastes like. Like I do not understand how you can eat something with fruit, but then also put it on a bagel, and then also put it in eggs, and then also eat it with tomatoes. Like I don't really understand what that is, and I don't think I'm going to try it. But I'm not kidding you guys. My stories, like I'll get on average, it's hard to say, anywhere from like 6,000 views to like 20,000 views. It's so sporadic, but I got over hundreds of comments. Not even, I don't know how many views it had, but like over 100 comments or replies. People telling me how to eat it, or that they didn't like it, or that they hate it, or that the texture is weird. And I'm like, nobody is convincing me that I should eat cottage cheese, and I'm not going to. But while we're talking about cottage cheese, I got from Green Pan this convection oven. Excuse me. Sorry, I had a little something in my throat. I just downed more coffee so I can be chipper. I got this convection oven from Green Pan. It bakes, it dehydrates, it defrosts, it air fries, it toasts, it bagels, it does it all. Oh, it pizzas. I say it like it's a verb because I'm trying to think of all the little tiles on it. Tiles, like little, you turn it on and there's a dial, and then it goes through like all of the options. There's like 9 different things you can do with this thing. I have only used it to toast because I've also never had a toaster. Since I was 18, I don't think I've ever had a toaster unless somebody I was living with had a toaster. We're not really bread people in general. But I used to, with Nanny family, I would always get a half loaf of sourdough because Nanny girl would want avocado toast. She had a different lunch every day. I was making a different fucking, or not lunch, breakfast every single day before school. We had a sheet where we had all of the options, which I'm like, why do you give the kids these options? That's the thing with like rich people, and maybe just like not rich people, but parents in general. Again, it's easy to hate from outside of the club, but I'm not in it. Don't give your kid options. Say that they're having cereal. Like our option when I was a kid was Cheerios. So that's what I ate. You let the waffles, bacon, sausage, avocado toast, oatmeal. Like, no, I'm not shitting you. So I would try and do it the week before so then I could get the groceries, but it was like something different every single day, and the kids never ate the same thing. So it was like both of them, which Nanny boy was way more like capable, and he would like make his own thing for the most part. If it was something that would take longer, I would start before he came downstairs, but like he wasn't too bad. But Nanny girl and Nanny mom would be like, sorry, and I'm like, why? Like give them 2 options, and if they don't want one of those options, then don't eat. I'm sorry, am I a bitch? Like, I just don't understand it. This is why kids are spoiled, or this is how kids become adults who are spoiled. Like, quit giving them so many fucking options. You know what I'm saying? But one of the things that I would make for her is sourdough avocado toast. And the freaking frugal psycho bitch in me would hate that the bread would go bad every time because I would use one slice and nobody else would eat it. So then that week, like if she wanted it one day, I would eat avocado toast every single day, which I love, don't get me wrong. So I used to have it quite a bit because of that, but I never had a toaster, and it's not something that like I wanted enough to have in my own home. And for that 2 years that I worked for them, I would eat breakfast there, or like if I wanted something, because I was always there, I wasn't even home, even dinner, I just like never even made food at home, I just ate their food. But I love avocado, everything but the bagel, salt, lemon, mix that up, throw it on the toast. Oh, you can add egg, but eggs I'm on and off. Like eggs for me are like a on and off food. Like I'll eat them for a year and then I won't want anything to do with them for another year. Honestly, I'm kind of like that with a lot of things. Not actually, eggs are a weird thing. It's kind of like chicken. Like once you have one of those moments where you're like, oh, what the fuck am I eating? And you're turned off. I am a creature of habit where like I'll eat the same things again and again and again until it eventually switches. Like in the mornings, I used to eat oatmeal, and it was like for a year straight, it's like oatmeal. It's the same exact thing. And then one day, not because I'm like repulsed by it, but because I'm over it, then I'll go to eggs and vice versa. That is kind of how I eat. But anyways, that is the latest and greatest. You guys, I wanted to pull up my responses for the Google Forms. I answered 2 of them on this coming Monday's podcast. So if you're listening right now and you left one and you don't hear me talk about the one that you left, it's going to be on Monday's podcast. However, I have one voice memo, you guys, and I want to play it. That way we can answer. Hello, I'm trying to pull it up. I've got this app on my phone, but it's like a little bit crazy and they're trying to get me to start a fucking free trial. No, just let me pull it up. Okay, here it is. I don't know how the quality is going to be, but we're going to try. And then once I'm editing it, I can maybe do a little synopsis, whatever that means, on what she said. Okay, let me start it.
Okay, so my current situation is that I started talking to this guy and he messaged me on my DMs. Originally, a year ago, we had started talking and it was going really great, but I had some family issues, so he stopped, even though he took me to Coco. He was a really nice guy. And a year later, he messaged me on Instagram, and he's like, oh, like, I miss you. We should, like, get back together. We should go on a date. And I was like, okay, well, like, I don't want to jump right back into it, so let's go on a date. So we go on a date, and we end up kissing, and I was kind of like, first date, not really a good idea. But, like, I've known him for a year, so, like, I kind of gave myself that excuse. And only to find out that 2 weeks into it, he's been messaging my friend in her DMs, and she came to me because she didn't know I was talking to him. I didn't tell her. And so now I'm in a situation where I need to confront him about it. So me and my friend are currently setting up a date with him, and I'm going to show up and we're going to clown him together, but I'm not really sure how to go about it, and I don't know how to find closure in this.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Oh, I'm gonna love this. I love hearing your guys' voice. Sometimes I audio message back girls on Instagram who message me, and I love hearing your voice because obviously I know you're people listening, but it's still like, it's nice to be reminded. You know what I'm saying? Okay, as for advice, number 1, clowning him. I pop off, do that. I would never do that. Like, I'm not saying this to dissuade you, but confrontation like that. And here's the thing, you sound a little bit younger than I am, because after going on one date, I guess that you kissed. I didn't guess, you told me that. Because you kissed, I understand it probably felt more than it is, but it also was one date. So the fact that he's talking to other girls, not surprising. This is also why talking stages are so fucking fucked. Excuse my language, because I feel like we as girls are just super loyal, and in the talking stage, we think it's more than what it is, and we get really attached, whereas they're probably talking to other bitches as he is. And if he's also talking to your friend, I imagine there are plenty other girls that he's talking to, but also he has that right. You guys went on one date. I'm sorry, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. It was one day. I get it, you kissed. That is something, but unless you guys had gone on multiple dates and he's like clearly dating two people at the same time, I don't declare people dating unless you've gone on like at least 3-4 dates together. Even still, like, you weed out people. But again, you sound really young. Let us know how the showing up on the date goes. I just like, I think about it from all angles. Like, on one hand, I get it, girls, like, we want the upper hand and we want to like show them that we know, but also like his reaction, what is he just gonna walk out? Like, oh, I hate just like cringy things like that. Like, I hate confrontation, and I hate like when somebody, even if they are in the wrong, I hate, like, I get secondhand embarrassment from like all situations. Even if that person is like not in the wrong, I can imagine what he would feel in that. And I'm like, oh. But anyways, how do you get closure? You go no contact, you fucking remove him off of your Instagram and every other thing, and you keep it moving, because this is obviously like, he was talking to both of you. It kind of just tarnishes the whole thing, in my opinion, and you keep it moving. Okay, let's get into the other written responses. So 2 of them I went over. Oh, 3 of them I went over because 1 was an addition. But here is the first one. I am writing about a situation between me and my boyfriend. I am 25 and he is 23. We are in a mid-distance relationship within the same state, about an hour and a half apart. Currently, one of us will drive to the other during the week and the other one will drive up on the weekend. So we see each other 2 times a week, with each of us driving once. Our relationship is really healthy, so much so that we've begun discussing moving in together. The only problem is that both of us have good jobs in our respective cities. He makes close to 6 figures and I just received a 10,000 raise at mine. Congrats, queen, to both of you. We just went on a week-long vacation together, so we got a taste of what living together could be like, and it was so nice. For additional context, he has a good network of friends in his town, whereas I don't really have much I'm attached to in my town besides my job. I do travel for work for about 1.5 months out of the year. Hello, am I illiterate? 1.5 months out of the year. And I'm remote for another month. I'm hoping for your advice on what to do. Do we split the distance? Do I move to him and suck it up? Do we have to just be realistic with one of us finding a job closer to the other? Hopefully this is enough information. Obviously we have discussed it on a few occasions, but an outsider POV I feel like could be helpful. I don't know if this is super niche, but hoping you can help. Thank you so much. Okay, I might not be the right girly to ask, but here's the thing. Okay, you're 25, he's 23. You live an hour and a half apart. You want to move in together. You did not say how long you've been dating, which I'm just going to disregard and put that as null and void. I'm going to guess at least over a year. I think if you are talking about moving in together, you should also be talking about marriage, and not right now, but like if you're so serious with somebody that you're thinking about moving in together, I think you should be as serious as to talking about marriage. Like, those to me are like hand in hand, kind of like, where is this going? Like, this is the next step, but like, what are we overall working to? Obviously things sound great. And the reason I bring that up is because if you are going to potentially move, leave your town, get a different job, I would highly recommend, like, if you guys talk about marriage, when again, this could go poorly, you guys could break up. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not going to say that anything is going to happen that I don't know, but you have to think about all of the things, which I will say, let's say that you find a job in his city, you move in together, you break up. Worst case scenario, you stay in that town, you get your own place, and then you start like this different path for yourself. Or you then quit that job, or, you know, whatever, stay there for a little bit, find a job in your original town that you're from, and go back. Like, moving in together, I've so much so changed my opinion on this. Now, when people move in together for financial reasons, for like not good reasons, that I do not recommend. But if you're working and you are able to, and you do currently pay your own rent and will always be able to sustain that, you moving in and still working and whatever, you would be able to move out. Like the worst case scenario for a girl like you who already pays her own shit, or it sounds like you could then move out and be on your own, right? Worst case scenario, it's when girls move in with a guy and don't work or don't make enough or don't have those options in the end to immediately move out. That's when I would say, hold up, get your shit in order, and then do that. For example, me and Carter, like I moved in, but I was always capable of making my own money and being able to pay for my own apartment. That way, if it went south, I could do that because what's the worst thing to happen? Like, yeah, it's whatever. It's embarrassing. You tell your family, you're like, yeah, we broke up and we lived together. But like at the end of the day, it's really not that serious. If you want to be serious with a boyfriend and you want to take the next step, that's naturally the progression. Now let's get on to the job part. A lot of people would probably say never move for a man. An hour and a half is not that far. But the reason I brought up marriage is because if you were thinking about moving in together, you just need to realistically think about, like, I understand he almost makes 6 figures. You have a good job that you love, but where do you guys think you could potentially be in 5 years? Like, you could come over to him, but if you live in a bigger city per se that has more opportunities that would be better to be at, then I think maybe he should sacrifice. Like, there are a lot of other factors in this to decide. And if one of you can make the jump without having a lowered pay or a lowered salary, like if you won't be able to find the same job going there, but he could easily find his same job at the same price point to come to you, then I would say he should come to you. But this is like totally a you guys decision. Obviously, I act like I'm in the fucking decision. Sorry. And I think it's just going to take a lot of conversation. You have made the mid-distance work. You could keep doing it. There's like no rush to move in. I know you want to, and I do like recommend it for people wanting to take the next step, but there's also quite literally no rush. I could see in this situation though, obviously, the mid-distance fucking sucks. So I would think about that and all of the surrounding factors of the job situation. Is this job a job that you like because you like the job itself, or like the people? Because people make or break the job, and it is hard to leave a really good job with the people. Like if you're a program manager, you can just hop on over, but you like just the work itself, you can do that anywhere. Like I would then take the plunge. You know what I mean? If I were you, or vice versa. It just depends on how attached you guys are, if there's growth in your positions, where you see yourself living in the next 5 years, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of other conversations to be had in there. Was that good advice? Did I even answer that question? I'm not sure, but I'm honestly probably not the best person. I never lived with anybody until Carter, and we moved in together after 2 months, but then we also did get engaged. But I am a little bit older. Like he's 23. Yeah, that's my advice. Whatever I just said. Thank you. And next story. Sometimes I'm like, I'm literally a fraud, but that's okay. Here's the next story, which is a little bit dark, a little bit deep, and a little bit, I have no say in this matter. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I am not a therapist. Let me tell you again, I am not a therapist. My 27 female wife, 25 female of 4 years, just went through a really bad psychotic episode. I was driving on the freeway with her in the passenger seat, and she took the wheel from me going 80 miles per hour and got us into a bad accident. My car is now totaled and I have a broken sternum. We both made our reports separately with the police. The police who took her report came back to me and told me that she was trying to kill us both. This made me go into a huge manic episode. I slept with several people while she was in the behavioral health unit. I told her immediately, I feel so guilty, but I also feel so devastated and hurt that she would want to kill me. I understand psychosis and it wasn't necessarily her fault, but I can't help but be hurt and angry. Yeah, I am nowhere near qualified to talk about this. This is your wife. Obviously, you guys are married. I I would have to assume that she has other mental health issues that you knew about prior getting into this. Obviously, this is a whole other thing. I would, number one, prioritize both of you getting therapy. And if that's like an inpatient, outpatient, all of the things, take care of both of your mental healths and then come together to couples therapy, because that's a lot to deal with. Her situation, you then sleeping with multiple people. I can imagine how both of you are feeling. And also, if you're not in your right mind, you can't even understand. That is my recommendation. Again, I am not a therapist, but that's crazy. And I'm so sorry for you. And I literally can't imagine what you're going through, but I hope all is well. And I hope you guys get through it and can figure it out and have a come to Jesus with a therapist, probably for a lot of sessions, but you'll be okay however it ends up. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Okay, you guys, my last little story. My boyfriend, 21 male, lied to me early in the relationship about how long him and his ex have been separated, and I'm starting to think he is a serial dater. Should I be concerned? I, 21 female, met my boyfriend Ryan in June of 2024. We previously knew each other as we went to the same high school and we had mutual acquaintances, but had never been close whatsoever. On our first date, he told me he had gotten out of a long-term relationship in early January of the same year. I honestly found this comforting, as I had gotten out of a 3-year relationship around the same time and was worried recently, being out of a long-term relationship, that it would be a red flag for new potential partners. We had a slow burn start to our relationship and we began officially dating in September. He is truly wonderful in every way, and I can honestly say I didn't know men this good existed. That is until recently we were spending time with his family and his sister brought up his ex-girlfriend Mandy. It was organic to the conversation as we were discussing how Mandy continued to talk about Ryan on social media. She then brought up the fact that Ryan and Mandy broke up in late March of 2024, not in January like he had said they did. After figuring this out, I stayed quiet and did some research. I discovered that prior to his relationship with Mandy, he had been with another girl for 2 years with only a month between the two relationships. I'm frustrated by this as it was never brought to my attention. He lied about him and Mandy's timeline at the beginning of the relationship. I love Ryan very much and am very happy in our relationship. Is this something I should bring up with him or be concerned about? Thanks. Love you. Oh my gosh. Love you, queen. Here's the thing. And honestly, I bet a lot of people are going to think this is such a bad fucking take, but I guess I'm a liar and I'm going to side with Ryan here for a second. There are white lies. And again, I should not condone lying, but like, I'm going to compare this to, for example, if I'm talking about something like a place that I was with, potentially with an ex-boyfriend, like a vacation I went on, it happened the other day. We were talking to our friends at dinner and they were asking if we had been to Florida. I had been to Miami with like a summer fling. I'm not going to fucking say that because these details are null and void. Like, why would I tell Carter? Like, there's no reason to bring up exes, in my opinion, when they don't really have to do with the story. So I just lied and said a friend. And I feel like that's happened a few times because it's not hurting somebody. And I feel like you said you were worried about people judging you for just getting out of a 3-year relationship. He might have been feeling that as well. So he lied about the timeline, or his sister lied about the timeline, or they did officially break up in January and then it ended in March. But also, if it did end in March and you guys started talking in June, that's 3 months. There's a lot of stuff here, but my main thing of advice would just be to talk to him about it. If it's something that's like bothering you, bring it up, but just bring it up in a way of like, I love you. I just noticed that when your sister said you guys had broken up in March, I thought you told me January, and it just like raised a little concern in my head. Like, did you guys break up here or there? If you need that clarification, which I don't judge you or blame you at all for wanting that, because it's like similar to when, let's say, me and Carter go out and his friends are like, do you remember that night when this happened and that happened? And it's like a night that I knew he went out, but he never told me about the situations that I'm hearing about now. It's like when you learn something that your partner either lied to you about or like omitted, it's like, why the fuck am I hearing this from somebody else? Like, that feeling is so annoying. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. I would just be like, I just didn't love that I didn't know that. Like, I felt like it caught me off guard and I just wanted some clarity. clarity. I'm not mad or anything. I just want to know. And here's the other thing having to do with the relationship before and the relationship now. I would say that you are really young. Both of you are 21. But when you're young and you're hearing that advice from me, or just like people say that, like, you're so young, it's like, what the fuck does that even mean? However, I feel like high school and college, like those relationships are also null and void. But what I will say, if it bothers you that he was a serial dater or jumped from relationship to relationship, that's not something he can change. That is a part of his past. So if that is a deal breaker to you, that's not something you go to him and cry about. Like, he can't change anything about that. That is something that you need to decide if you can accept or not, which I don't think it's a big deal at all. I was such a relationship person at that age, and even into my adult life. Like, I had moments of singleness, you know, I had a year there, a year and a half there, but in college, especially in my early 20s, like I was in flings and dating, and it's not necessarily a good thing, but there are red flags amongst all types of daters and non-daters. Like, if there's a guy who's 28 and has never had a girlfriend, some people could say that's a red flag. Some people could say that's a green flag. If there's a guy who's dated a lot of girls and had actual serious relationships, some people would say that's a red flag and some people would say that's a green flag. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's very situational. And I think the thing that matters is how that man treats you. Their past, as women, we get so caught up in it, but it's like, number one, we can't change it. And number two, that was a completely different person. He was a different person. Like, every single day we become a different person and change and evolve. And I think we can learn from these patterns. But if he treats you right, and there's been no other like lies or big things, he just kind of fibbed about this one thing, which again, if Carter came to me and was like, yeah, I broke up with my girlfriend like a month ago, I could understand how somebody wouldn't want to say that, even though this guy was like 3 months. Same for me. I remember telling him on one of our early dates, because I think it came up in the cards, like I had just gone out of a relationship in the end of January, beginning of January, which was only 3 months. And like, it was a serious relationship and it didn't feel good. And I think I told the truth, but it's like, it's just this weird, awkward thing, because you know how it feels to be on the other end of it. Like, nobody wants to hear you just got out of a relationship, which it wouldn't have been that because there was 3 months between, but we all heal and deal with breakups individually. Some people get over the breakup before it even happens. A lot of women, like, we're already gone through it before we broke up with the person. And sometimes it takes us a year. Who is to say? But if he is a good partner, he puts an effort, he makes you happy, and there's been no other big like lies or red flags, I think you're totally fine. I don't think it's a bad thing. But if it is something you're thinking about, I would just ask him and like be as loving and kind and calm as you can. I know sometimes as women, we get like worked up in these situations, which is totally valid. But like, if he cares for you and loves you, he'll be there for you and talk through it. But like, don't attack him. There's no reason to be like, like, just ask, like, is there a reason you told me this? Or like, your sister said that, or what have you. And then hopefully, I can imagine bringing it up and talking to your partner about it always makes you feel better. Like, just getting the answers, it's gonna, it's hard to bring things up at first, but once you do, it's like a weight lifts, because then you can talk about it and then it's done. So I would just bring it up. But that's my advice. Can I tell you guys one more thing, which I'm not going to get too far into this, but I got the juiciest fucking tea of my life this week. And I'm scared that somebody I know could listen to this. And so I'm going to keep it vague. I ran into somebody I used to know at the grocery store. They are married. Okay, I used to hang out with them. I used to watch their dogs, and we used to hang out with another couple. That other couple got married in 2023. And then it was like a few months later, they were divorced. The only reason I knew they were divorced is because on their Instagram, there were no rings. They had removed each other. Like, they had just gotten married. Okay. And there was a friend who pointed out that this situation occurred. Like, a friend came to me back in the day and was like, have you seen this? And then I did my research and I'm like, oh my fucking God. But neither of us were close enough to the source. Like, we were nosy, but you want to be appropriate. I'm not going to reach out to people I barely know and be like, what happened with so-and-so? Like, I fucking want to know, but like, I'm not a bitch. Well, I run into this adjacent friend and they asked me, they were like, do you know what happened with so-and-so? And I'm like, oh my God, this is like probably a couple years ago now. I'm like, no, I never found out. They were like, oh, he caught her cheating in the car. She went out and got drunk and was hooking up with a man in a car. And I don't know if he had her location, but found her cheating. I'm like, oh, crazy. But that's not even the best part. I then get to my car. I call up. Nope. I audio message my friend, the one who asked me back in the day. I'm like, bitch, I just found out years later what happened. He caught her cheating. Crazy. This was like months into their new marriage. Insane. This person then gets back to me and says, oh, you want some piping hot fucking tea? And a couple of months ago, actually like a year ago, this person, my friend, was reaching out to me about something and briefly alluded to two couple friends having affairs with one another. Okay. And again, they were really down at the time because they were like in the middle of it and they didn't say who, even though I know that I would know them because I'm in this little circle, but I'm like a little bit removed. And at the time, again, I didn't want to be a nosy fucking bitch and be like, who is it? Because it just wasn't appropriate. Like I was dying to know. I remember calling Natalie. I'm like, I don't know who it is, but listen to this shit. Okay. Well, my friend drops the bomb on me. I know one of the couples so well. Okay. That's all. Full stop. One of the men. Okay. Also, they had just gotten married in 2022. Both couples. Okay. One of them has children or a child, one child, and the other one does not have children yet. Well, one was visiting the other because they're very close, couple friends. The man in one relationship goes off and the girl in one relationship goes off to work while they're staying at the house. So the two opposite partners are at home and they start talking about their marital issues. Okay, they're getting emotional, they're talking, whatever, nothing happens. The couple flies back to where they're from. Then that man messages her and it's like, oh, hey, putting out feelers. Okay. Then the couples, all of their friends go on a trip. Those two start fucking. Okay. And this is one of the parents of the one with the child. And it's also the mom. I digress. I already have said too much. They start having this affair. He tells his wife that he's going on a business trip. She fucking gives her baby to somebody and then goes to this hotel and meets him and fucks. And then they go on another trip with all of their friends. I found a photo of all of them. Meanwhile, these two are fucking behind their backs. Insane. I also learned that they are both trying to make it work. I'm sorry. I love when I get this information because then I come to Carter and I said, if you think for one motherfucking second that I would try and make it work with you, you're wrong. Okay. And he knows that I will also chop his balls off. But anyways, I already said way too much. If you know me and you just heard that, just zip it. Don't you fucking dare tell on me. But that's the craziest. Like I'm learning all of this in the span of 30 minutes. Like I run into this person at the grocery store. They drop this tea. Then I call my friend over here. They tell me the tea. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Which actually me and Carter had this conversation the other day because we watch movies and shows and there's always like affairs and it just seems so prevalent. Here's 3 couples that I know, all in their early 30s, all just recently married, affairs. Fucking sick, fucking crazy, fucking horrible. Why'd you get married? And you have a child? Nope. Anywho, that's all the piping hot tea I have for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. This episode was way better than the one I recorded this morning, and I don't feel like I need to issue an apology. Thank you for being here. Oh, this weekend, I have a little influencer workout event. We'll see how I'm fucking feeling. If I feel like I'm going to die, if I spiral a few more times on Saturday. And then I think that's really it. Me and Carter will be laying low. Thank God. But that is all, you guys. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Have the best time. Thank you for listening. And I will see you guys on Monday. Okay. Bye, guys.